Marfoogle News live in 3, 2. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam A.K. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. We're going to go into a few stories here that are really impertinent to what's going on right now. First of all, Maduro's forces, and this is supposedly, according to the Miami Herald, search for Trump on people's phones as repression grows in Venezuela. Now, this is, of course, according to Western media. We don't know what is Ganda at this point. We don't know what is really happening at this point. There is a general thought that there may be a message or a seed being put into people's heads that this is about to be a war, and to gain sentiment for this, they need a lot of reasons for the public to support a war. Amanda, young worker at a tech accessories store, and again, when it starts out like this, it almost sounds like, an author is writing it as, it was a sunny day in fall, or, Amanda, a young worker at a tech accessories store, was terrified last week when 6 police officers stopped her and her boyfriend as they drove on one of the main avenues of the Venezuelan city of Maracaibo. It says that night the uniformed officers did not seek to verify the car's registration documents. Instead, they demanded to search the couple's cell phones, even though they did not have a warrant. One of the officers seized their phones, entered the direct messaging applications WhatsApp and Telegram, and typed 4 keywords into the search engine: Maduro, Trump, and drugs, right? Nothing compromising appeared in the chats. We had a very bad time. They held us for about 15 minutes, and after checking our cell phones and our bags, they let us go, the young woman told the Miami Herald, asking that her last name not be used for fear of retaliation from the authorities. Also, so no one can actually verify what had just happened. Now, this is essentially one story of one couple, and they're essentially running this as a fact. Usually we want at least 2 or 3 sources when it comes to this kind of stuff, especially when it's making a giant claim about what they're doing. If they're stopping and seizing any kind of citizens or any people that are either foreigners or even, stopping their own people and doing this, there should be more than just one story of a young tech worker. So again, I just want people to keep in mind that there's a lot of stuff going on right now, and you really have to keep in mind, you have to ask those questions about every single story that comes out, because right now it is imperative. So yeah, this is very, very odd, and the fact that they went straight into WhatsApp and Telegram, here's the thing we have been talking about that, of course, over the last couple days, in fact, yesterday or the day before, you had one of their top former officials that's now in a U.S. prison write a letter to the president stating that his policies are not only correct but necessary to protect the United States because there's ununiformed officers and armed soldiers inside of our country working for not only Venezuela but connected with Hezbollah and Russia, which makes a whole lot of sense if that is true. But again, people thought it was fishy because it said, it was basically not only saying, hey, the president is right, but of course this gentleman stands to, obviously profit off of a pardon if this thing, gets a lot of coverage. So again, it almost looks like the president asked him to do it, or somebody in the administration asked him to do this, and maybe with a carrot on the stick of a pardon. So yeah, a lot of stuff is going on right now, but what the claims are in just the last couple days, it seems like it's piling up to tell you that, it's a bad place to be. Obviously, a lot of stories that relate to this, like, shutting down flights in and out of the country for major flights. It's very nuts. Now, before we continue, I do want to remind you guys, make sure to go check out marfooglenews.com/EMP and use the code MARF. Again, that code MARF will get you $50 off, plus the Black Friday sale, which is 25% off or up to 25% off on almost every device. So again, this is a great, great time to go do this because you're going to get our grandfathered in discount on top of the largest Black Friday sale they've done. marfooglenews.com/EMP, code MARF. This will protect you against not only EMP, CME, and lightning. If you end up wiring this into your house, it takes 10 minutes to put in your car. Truck, motorcycle, boats, generators, all can be protected with EMP. The same company in tech is being outfitted on agencies like DHS, DOD, DOW, FBI, Air Force. So again, go check it out. marfooglenews.com/EMP and code MARF. All right, now Let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine. On this Maduro story, they also had a law enforcement officer who spoke to them, telling them that what they're looking for is people involved in political crime. And they also had another mall worker who had the same thing happen to him, where he was actually taken into custody for 2 hours while they went through all of his photos and all of his WhatsApp and Telegram chats. And then the civil organizations there have said that the arrests since October are now up to 54 for political purposes of people, according to the Venezuelan human rights group Provia, which I guess monitors that inside of Venezuela. So,
Oh, so my version's cut off. So correct. Definitely make sure that you correct what I said. So at least that there's 2 or 3 different sources for that. Again, mine actually is cut off because of the archive. So again, very, very, very intense that if that is true, if that's truly going on there, then that's something that obviously you wouldn't want to be somebody that does have Trump sex drugs on your phone. That would obviously be scary, especially if you're in a foreign country. Now, again, Dex, let's go over this other story, which is sort of related to what we just talked about with the EMP. Now, they say that there was potentially a cosmic ray from a supernova that hit a plane, or at least that's what the pilot thinks.
yeah, so this packed plane dropped 100 feet in just 7 seconds, and they're suggesting, or a scientist is suggesting, it was struck by a cosmic ray. So, a New Jersey bound flight, a JetBlue plane, it may have been struck by a ray from a star exploding in another galaxy. Talk about precision, but 20 passengers were injured by the sudden drop of the JetBlue Airbus A320 back on October 30th. Though the pilot regained the control of the aircraft fairly quickly, the plane, they say, was hit by high energy particles that had traveled millions of light years, caused by a supernova. This is according to Clive Dyer, a space and radiation expert from the University of Surrey. He rubbished the earlier claims from that the Airbus had intense solar radiation. I guess that was the original explanation for the sudden drop. But he said that he thought it was coming from something else because these cosmic rays can interact with modern microelectronics, changing the state of a circuit. Basically, think about if a circuit has like a 1 or a 0 on it, it could flip from a 1 or to a 0 or from a 0 to a 1, which would cause information to change instantly on what the computer was thinking it was doing. So that's the explanation this one guy's given. I don't understand how he can really say it's coming from any particular cosmic ray, but that's what he says.
Yeah, how would I mean? Obviously, it's a pilot literally saying he believes that in some other galaxy, the supernova ended up affecting his plane. I actually wonder if this was something like, the Chinese space station or a space weapon, something that targeted the plane. That's just a thought and a theory that it could be. Again, it's pretty odd that everything basically, flashed like that. He drops, and again, is it him trying to save his job, and he's just going into the office to his boss like, yeah, I swear it was a supernova. A supernova came out of nowhere. That would definitely be an act of God that you wouldn't be responsible for. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. What else could it be? Again, could it be something that is a space weapon, something that could hit it, something from the ground, some sort of EMP type of weapon? Something that would just knock everything, haywired. Somebody else in the chat said hackers. Could this be something that somebody inside the plane could do? But why would you do that? What a cockpit. Needy boyfriend has such a meltdown over not being sat next to his partner. Flight is forced to make emergency landing. So this one, again, you guys can go watch the video on the website. It's connected, but a plane was forced to make an emergency landing after a needy boyfriend allegedly argued with staff about not being seated to his partner. The clingy man said to have complained about his seat and asked to be sat next to his girlfriend on a flight from Narita, Japan to Shanghai. They ended up having to stop the entire plane. Again, you have to go watch the video for the greater context of it. But when the passenger sat next to the man's girlfriend did not want to swap seats, the man began to argue with staff. Talk about, needy, right? Crew members explained that he needed to stay in the seat for the length of the 3-hour flight, and it was only a 3-hour flight. Gilligan here ended up basically screwing up everybody else's trip. Again, and we also have a story that, again, this is absolutely nuts. You have to go watch the video for the guy and what he's talking about. It definitely adds more context to it. And then Europe will be unrecognizable in 20 years due to immigration, White House strategy document claims. Now, we've heard the president himself end up saying things like, London, if you guys aren't careful, UK, if you aren't careful, your whole country is going to be absolutely destroyed. He's basically said it's unrecognizable. Now there is in a White House strategical document. It says a new national security document released by the White House late Thursday claimed, and they're saying without evidence, that Europe is facing civilizational erasure and will be unrecognizable in 20 years or less due to immigration that has made European powers militarily weak. The 33-page document, which I'm sure many of you are pointing out, titled National Security Strategy and dated November 2025, is a detailed expression of President Donald Trump's America First foreign policy and argues that the United States should scale back its vast commitments around the world and focus its efforts on securing the Western Hemisphere. The document has no listed author, but features a foreword by the president, and the president calls the document a roadmap to ensure America remains the greatest and most successful nation in human history. The comments on immigration echo the Great Replacement theory. Experts told NBC News a debunked nationalist conspiracy theory that white populations are being replaced by immigrants and the majority of non-white nations, particularly from Africa. Okay, so first of all, this is obviously a biased article on it by NBC News. But the actual document saying that it will be unrecognizable, well, we've heard claims like this echoed by the actual people that are living there, the people that are saying that it's an absolute different place to be. People that have visited after 10 years have said that it is absolutely unrecognizable already just because the population has changed. There's not many locals. There's many people that are basically, plants or people that have come from other places and now live there. Now, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but again, many of the locals are. And I know from living in Seattle, essentially almost everyone here has come from another place to work at Microsoft and all of these different places. Things like this can affect the local economy. Right now, I mean, honestly, we have been absolutely destroyed by the housing market here in Seattle. Essentially, people that work in Seattle, if they are to have a cent of savings, they have to essentially work 3 hours from work and drive 3 hours every single day into Seattle from somewhere way across, the state. And I wish I was exaggerating. Most people live about an hour away from Seattle. But you can't even do that anymore. Now people are moving way further out. When you have this many people come into your housing market for some reason or to get jobs, well, it ends up having an effect that you cannot stop. There's more people looking for the same jobs, and then those jobs end up being harder to find. So that ends up, those people want to be closer to those central city jobs, and then it makes it harder and harder for any locals or people that were born there to actually get housing or even be able to afford rent. Here, for example, rent for an average one-bedroom is like $2,400 right now. That's insanity. I know there's a lot of places in the country that are cheaper, but it makes it a lot harder when you have a lot of family. As far as I hear the same sentiments, and it feels like we can relate to them, like I can relate to them, in Europe and London and UK. A lot of the things saying that essentially people can't even afford to live anymore because of the economy and where it is going. So yeah, they're saying unrecognizable in 20 years. Some say in 2 years. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. We're going to talk about something even more insane here on the next show. In fact, you have to watch it. The title, again, is not even the craziest part here. There's a lot, but basically we're talking about 60% of humanity disappearing in as little as 3 days. That's the crazy shock story that the media is telling you. We will tell you what you should really be watching on this next show. So make sure to follow us. If you're in the chat, stay here. Again, you'll be ported over if you're watching the replay. All you have to do is click here. We'll see you in just a minute over on Marfoogle TV, our sister channel. Full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document in the description down below.